All right, guys, we're gonna be doing a kind of a more balanced leg workout, I think, today. It was intentionally gonna be more of a glute and ham focus, but my week's a little delayed, so I wanna work in a bit more quad for today, just to kind of keep everything more balanced, because I was supposed to train yesterday, but I didn't actually get a chance to. So my week's all pushed back. So we're gonna do probably a little bit more ham focus, but I'm still gonna be doing some quad focus today. We're starting with the calves like always. Now, for those of you that don't know why, it's because I have them in the beginning. Again, just because I have more energy in the beginning of my workouts. And it also kind of gets my ankle mobility up, especially when I want to go and train quads. It allows me to get my knee tracking over top of that toe. So I'm using today, instead of the standing, I'm just switching it up. I'm doing more of a donkey calf raise. The great thing is I'm not loading my spine. So I actually load kind of my hips, but it still allows me to target those calves in a much more stretched or lengthened state, because I'm still doing them standing. Now, you can, if your gym doesn't have this machine, you can pretty much just get away with doing it on the leg press. It's the exact same setup and same body position. It's a little more tedious to set up and load the plates on. So I'm just doing donkeys because it's a little more luxury, offers a bit more stability, because I'm not having to worry about my torso and stabilize everything. I'm literally just loading that hip, and I'm focused on keeping my knees locked in position the entire time. Do 2 more sets. Now, same principles apply when I'm performing these. Like I said, I'm keeping my knees locked. I'm not bouncing them or moving them around. And I'm driving through the ball of my foot underneath my big toe and bringing my ankles almost together as I push up. So I'm not coming out onto my toes like this. I'm almost coming inward like that, bringing those ankles together almost. And that's just going to allow me to keep constant tension on that calf and less on my foot, if that makes sense. Focus on pulling back. So I'm actively pulling my toes up to my shin and then driving that ankle joint forward and in. It's funny too, like as I'm progressing through the sets of my calves, sometimes I have to adjust the pad, whether that's the shoulder pad if I'm doing standing, or in this case, this sort of low back or hip pad, because as I progress through each set, the mobility of my ankle actually just starts to increase. So you can actually sort of feel that firsthand. If you start with calves in your training, you'll start to feel like, oh shit, things are starting to loosen up. My calves are loosening up, my ankles are loosening up, and I can actually get much greater range than I did on that first set. So it's another, that's kind of the main reason why I tend to start with my calves. I've got 1 more set. Rest time isn't going to be too long on these, roughly a minute, until basically the burning goes away. Because again, this isn't really that fatiguing, but we are going to failure, or as close to failure as possible. So I'm even including, as you see, partial reps. I'm just trying to get like an extra 5 to 10 partial reps if I can't complete that full rep, just to fully burn out my calves. Okay, last set. Now I'm just bringing my foot back up on that platform because it does tend to slide as the set progresses. My foot starts to slide back. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping almost half my foot on the platform the entire time, so I have a greater amount of surface area and leverage. All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna start with some hamstrings. Same reason, just because I have more energy in my workout, so I can actually have much greater force output on the hamstrings. We're gonna start with, honestly, it's kind of busy, so whatever's open, seated probably, and then move into some lying hamstring curls, 3 sets for each of those, and then we'll actually get into some heavier compound movements. Now we're starting with seated. It's just going to allow us, as I've mentioned in the past, the positioning of your torso is literally like you're doing an RDL, obviously minus the knee flexion, but we're fully lengthening our hamstring. So we're training the hamstring through a more lengthened or stretched position. That's just going to offer us greater tension on the actual muscle. I'm starting with that, and then we'll go into some lying hamstring curls, just to kind of working more of the shortened or contracted position of the hamstring. Now I do a warm-up set for pretty much every single exercise, and it's not even really for the warm-up. Obviously in the beginning of my workout, I am actually physically cold too, it's winter. So I will do intentional warm-up sets in the beginning, self-explanatory to warm up. But I also will do warm-up sets even towards the end of my workout. And they're not even really warm-up sets. I more so refer to them as like gauge sets. And what I mean by that is I'm using that set to, one, gauge sort of how I'm feeling and how strong I think I can kind of potentially be in the actual movement. But more so also to set everything up, to make sure that my next working sets are near perfect. So I'm not trying to be so pedantic in the sense that I'm trying to cover everything meticulously, but I want to make sure that I'm set up and I'm executing the reps and the sets as perfect as I can to get the most out of them. So I will do the warm-up set, even if it's a machine, again, just to make sure the machine is set up properly to me and that everything kind of flows and feels nice as I'm doing it. So this is just going to be the warm-up, nothing crazy. Again, just to kind of see how I'm feeling and to get the form down for my actual working sets. Now I'll run through it with you because I do stress this a lot. Keeping my knees straight the entire time is crucial for this. I don't want my knees flared like this. Because this is a hinge joint, my knees are a hinge joint. I've mentioned this so many times, but they only work in one direction. They're not going to be pivoting around like a shoulder joint where it's a ball joint. So I want to make sure that my knees are straight, pointed straight to the wall in front of me or to the ceiling, whatever helps. Because it only is moving in one direction, I want to make sure that I'm moving in the direction of the machine. It sounds self-explanatory, but a lot of people tend to roll their knees out on leg extensions or even hamstrings. And I think honestly the safest way is just keeping them straight the entire time. It's, one, going to offer you more tension on the actual target muscle, and two, potentially reduce any sort of risk on the actual joint itself because you're not going to be causing any sort of shear force. Now I'm initiating every rep by driving my knees into this top pad. So I'm not just thinking about pulling down like this. I'm actually thinking about pushing up into this pad to initiate every rep, just so, again, so I have more leverage on the target muscle. I'm using the machine how it's properly meant to be used. There's a reason for this pad, so you want to push against that pad with your knees, or at least your quad. Ooh. Working in that full range. And then we can always include, partial reps when you start to reach that form failure. So that was my warm up. We're gonna go a bit heavier. Give myself like 30, 45 seconds. That wasn't really that fatiguing, but just kind of loosen everything up, get the burning sensation out. Yeah, good. So we got 3 full working sets. Again, trying to get as close to failure. Oh, sorry. Trying to get as close to failure as possible. You don't have to go to failure on every single set, by the way. It's more so like I'm pick and choosing how I kind of go about my sets. Isolation work, I think why not? Take it as close to failure as possible, if not absolute failure, where you just can't do another rep. But when you're doing things like compound movements, it becomes a little more risky, and it's almost like the risk to reward ratio. Is it really worth taking a compound movement to failure? So like something like squats or leg press or things like that, like absolute failure, probably not. Given, as long as you're controlling it and you're not egoing it and you're not using crazy amount of weight just because you think that's, you know, balls to the wall type mentality. Where am I going with this? Well, my point is be selective. Compound movements, I usually stop 1 to 2 reps shy. Sometimes I do take it to close to failure or to the point where my legs just kind of give out or my chest just gives out. But again, I'm not doing that on free weight. I'm doing it if it's a machine. So it's a little more control and a little less risk. But again, the goal of every set, stability, set up the machine or the exercise, be intentional about it, understand what it is you're trying to actually accomplish with that set. So I'm trying to target this muscle, this particular muscle. So being intentional is crucial. And then just focus on executing every rep perfectly, or as perfect as you possibly can. That doesn't mean being so rigid and stiff, but it means, you know, again, be intentional about it. Don't just think about going point A to point B and just rushing through the movement and half repping it. You know, focus on controlled eccentrics, full stretch, and then coming up to a complete contraction. And then towards the end, yeah, you know, include a little bit of cheat reps, partial reps, things that are still controlled though, but intentional. You're not just like sloppy with it. Anyways, I digress. Oh shit, come on. All right, 30 more seconds, and last set. Oh, fuck. That's it. Ow. Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go right behind. You're good. All right, now you're good. So again, just first set is just gonna be a intentional warm up. Again, just to kind of gauge the machine, gauge how I'm feeling, but more so importantly, make sure that everything's set up accordingly. We got second set. Huge tip I can give is obviously next to the setup of the machine itself, self-explanatory, but some people get that wrong. But the biggest tip is bracing yourself, using the handles to engage your lats. So I'm pulling into that handle, tucking in, crunching almost in, engaging my abs, engaging my lats. I've mentioned this before, but the lat attaches at the hip, so I'm keeping my hips, using my core and my lats as stable as possible. I don't want them moving around in the movement when I'm performing the leg curls. And then obviously keeping those knees pointed straight to the ground. So I don't care about my feet. If my feet look like they're turned in when I'm doing these, I don't care. I'm actually just trying to keep my knees pointed straight to the ground so I can use that, so I can follow, the path of the actual machine with the path of my joint. Oh shit. So 10 pounds heavier, 80 pounds. Great thing about this Jim Lako hamstring curl is the resistance profile of it is pretty awesome because it's heaviest in the bottom range. As I come up, the movement gets a little bit easier. Sometimes when I'm doing each rep, if you may have noticed, this pad will actually leave my feet because it gets so light at the top that I have to intentionally remind myself to kind of slow it down a bit as I go through the movement, because if not, this pad leaves my feet and then it just kind of looks a little sloppy and feels a little sloppy because then I got to catch it. Mm. 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 Uh. 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 All right, we're gonna move on. Ow. We'll move on to some Smith machine. We're gonna do some squats. We're gonna do about 5 sets there. Sure, I'll just explain it when we're there. All right, those first 2 sets were just complete warm up. Again, just to get my foot positioning right, get everything set up. We're gonna do 5 sets here. 3 are gonna be glute focused. So meaning my intention is to take as much tension off of my quads and place them onto my hips and glutes. So I wanna minimize the amount of knee flexion. So as I come down, you may have noticed my knees are almost hovering around 90 degrees. A little bit lower, but I'm not trying to get my knees forward and over my toes. So in other words, I'm trying to create distance from the bar to my hip joint. Next, we'll do 2 sets at the end. So again, 5 total, 2 at the end, higher reps, more quad focus where we'll use this ramp. Again, to sort of intentionally bring those toes over my knees and to focus more on my quads. So the intention for that would be trying to get my knee joint as far away from this bar as possible. So yeah, we'll start 3 sets of this. Start with set number 1. We'll just start kind of heavy and work our way up. My rep range for these is going to kind of stay around that shy of failure, 1 to 2 reps shy. I don't know, 12 to 15 rep range. Not super low because we're not going crazy heavy, or we might, I don't know, depending on how I feel. Last week when I did these felt weirdly heavy, but I was also coming off being sick. So using a low bar position on my back. Feet a little wider than shoulder width. And then I'm initiating the movement by sinking those hips back and down. Keeping that chest up though. So again, trying to go as deep as possible. So we're gonna go a bit heavier on that. That felt pretty good. I did 15, I stopped around 15. I probably could have done 20, but I kind of want to save my strength and go a bit heavier because last week I stayed around 2 plates and by like the 12th rep I was dying. So I feel stronger today. We'll go heavier. A little OCD, lining up the plates. So you'll probably see from a better angle now, shooting through the mirror, my depth, my range of motion on this. Trying to go as deep as possible. Oh, got one more set. We might go a bit heavier. The focus of this workout, the intention of this workout is to be focused. I know I'm talking in between my sets, but I'm just trying to walk you through, obviously, my process of how I go about setting up each exercise and also why I'm doing certain exercises when. But the intention of this workout is remaining focused the whole time. I'm not going on my phone, providing you with valuable information, things that I've learned over the years. And then also, sorry, I'm just out of breath. Also, to just push myself as hard as possible. To push myself further than I did last week or yesterday or the day before that, trying to go to that failure mark. Like I said earlier, you don't have to take everything to failure, but I feel like the vast majority of people don't train hard enough, don't train with enough emotion, and they just kind of go through the motions, if that makes sense. So you're just kind of in here, you're on autopilot. You're not really thinking about what you're doing. You're just doing it because you saw it online or someone told you to do it because it was a good exercise. But to be intentional about it, because at the end of the day, this is for you. You're here for a reason. You're here to be better, to grow, to get stronger, to push yourself further. And it's the easiest way to do that with almost an immediate result of success or failure, because you know whether you succeeded in that set or you failed at that set, aka maybe failed at the target rep or failed at the new weight number on the bar. So that's kind of the intention for today's workout. But with that being said, we're gonna go heavier. I'm gonna push myself a little further than I've been in a while. Grabs the 10s. Making a joke because it's like pushing myself further than I've been and I just throw 10s on each side. No, I mean, the weight doesn't actually matter. Throwing an extra 10 on each side, extra 20 pounds total. That could be somewhere you've never been. I have done that. I want to try 3 plates. I feel like I'm strong enough to get 10 reps today. I may not, but my intention isn't to just lift the weight. Again, I'm thinking about executing every rep perfectly, keeping that last rep as good as my first rep, so to speak. So if I can get 8 to 10 reps, that'll be great. I'll be happy with that. Come on. Come on. Mm. Ah. Ah. Come on. 3 more. Ah. Two more. Make it 10. Oh, last one. I don't know how that one looked. That last one could have been pretty ugly, or it may not have come across ugly on camera, and it felt gross, but we did it. Maybe the first 5 to 8 were good. Maybe those last 2 were a little funky. We'll see. But I haven't done 3 plates squat in a very long time, so I'm happy with that regardless. Again, sometimes as long as you're controlling the weight, you're not letting the weight control you, but sometimes just doing extra weight that you may not have ever done or haven't done in a long time can sort of kickstart that motivation and give you that confidence when coming in here in training. All right, we're gonna do quads now, 2 sets, higher reps this time. I'm not gonna go heavy or as heavy. Maybe just start at a plate and just focus on form, but higher reps, so still trying to go to that 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. All right. Now I'm using a wedge. You don't have to have a wedge, but I recommend using something to elevate the heels, whether it's shoes that, like lifting shoes that have a wedge in it, or even just 5-pound or 10-pound plates, or a 45-pound, doesn't matter. Whatever's comfortable, something to elevate your heels. That's gonna allow you to get the most out of your quads, because what you're doing is you're almost artificially increasing the length of your shin or tibia, which most people who have a difficult time, especially if you're taller or if you have very long femurs, it can be very difficult for you to squat all the way down, getting a deep enough range while maintaining an upright posture. So the reason I'm talking about an upright posture is because it's going to reduce the amount of hip flexion. So meaning you're not going to be engaging as much glute, or at least stretching the glute through a range of motion. And by being upright, you're pushing those knees forward over your toes, and that's going to create greater flexion in your knee, greater tension on your quad. That might be a bit sciencey and nerdy, but that's kind of my thought process of you're artificially increasing the length of your shin or tibia by elevating it, your heel, which in turn will allow you to maintain that upright posture and come down fully, working those quads in a deeper range of motion. Bring feet in a bit. In fact, I think my feet are a bit too forward. It's kind of a hack job set. There we go. So I don't want to be leaning back. Again, I'm trying to be as upright as possible, keeping my feet underneath this bar. Give myself a rest though. So I'm not really going to count that as a set, but this next set will be a working set. I'm not going to talk much for these next 2 sets. I just want to get through it, and then we'll move on to leg press. Oh shit. Uh, okay, we got one more set. Oh, fuck. 11 more. Fuck. Uh, one more. Uh, make it 25. One more. One more. Uh, okay. That's it. We're gonna move on to leg press, and then that's probably gonna be it. We'll see. Oh man, I'm not even going heavy, but I just fucking catches up quick. You feel like shit. Kind of lightheaded, nauseated, fucking borderline incoherent and dying. Ugh. And it's like I'm so thirsty, but I'm drinking carbs and some EAAs or something just for flavor. But it's just not at all thirst quenching at all. It's like just sticky and pasty and. But you know what? That's it. It's part of it. It's not like I'm complaining. I'm not actually complaining. At the end of the day, I do love it. Okay. Off to leg press. We're gonna do 4 sets. Similar concept we did over there. We're gonna do 2 sets quad focus, 2 sets glute focus, both again taken close to failure, but we're gonna just strictly do partial reps for these, lengthened partials. So focusing on the deep range, coming down all the way, but only going up halfway for high reps. Not as heavy. Anywhere from a 12 to 20 rep range, depending on, you know, obviously how I'm feeling and how heavy we go. Start with 4 plates. I'm gonna bring this seat backrest down 1. It's gonna offer me a little bit more range. And then I'm gonna place my feet lower on this platform because I want to target the quads first. Yeah. Just resting briefly at the top. 5 more. Oh shit. Oh man. This is definitely the last exercise. Oh, dying. Two more, fuck. Fuck. Holy shit. It's like that feeling where it doesn't matter where you fucking lay or position yourself, you're just so uncomfortable. Oh god. Just super lightheaded and out of breath. All right, that was the last set of the quad focus. We're gonna do glute focus. So I'm gonna bring my feet higher up. Same thing though, deep range, getting my knees past my shoulders and only coming up halfway, working those partials or half reps. Ooh. 20 reps. I think we got 10 more. 5 more. Come on. I swear to God, I'm not intentionally making this look like it's hard. I'm genuinely exhausted. Oh man. I'm not even like tired. I'm just fucking yawning. I mean, I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but eight more. Come on, 3 more. No stopping. See, I won't forget luck. Okay. That's it. It's the end of the leg workout. Hey, look. One thing I realized when I'm filming these for you guys is by having the camera on me, my main goal, I have two goals when I'm filming these videos, because I really enjoy it for you guys, is one main goal is that I want you guys to take something away. I want to teach you guys something valuable, whatever it may be, something that you can walk away with, a new piece of knowledge, a new idea or something that you benefit from. And two is to have a really good workout. And one thing I've realized is by having the camera on, I can't bitch out and I can't just come in here and half-ass it. I realize it's forcing me to constantly train as hard as I can and constantly push myself, which is beneficial because, again, that second goal is I want you guys to watch these videos and not only learn something, but, you know, be inspired or motivated to go and train your ass off. So I'm enjoying it, and I hope you guys are too. But that's it. See you next time. Probably going to do another pull workout. We got pull next. Actually, I think push. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's it.